Hey folks, this is Bailey from Dank Wargaming.
Hey, it's Heath with Team Tampa Hawaii.
Welcome to the Path to Redemption, the Warhammer 40,000 Dark Angels podcast, where our aim is to provide Dark Angels players with the tactical and hobby skills that they need in order to enjoy this wonderful hobby of ours. Welcome to our October episode. In this episode, we are going to bypass new releases because we already covered all of that. We're going to hop straight into the Meta Watch with a bunch of events all over the world. It'll be very exciting. I'm going to talk about my experience down at Tampa, go over my list and the featured segment. We're going to check in on the hobby challenge, and then we have some community comments, which are last but not least, as we have it every month. So, new releases, we already covered it. Go listen to the September or watch the September episode.
Done.
Meta Watch.
Yeah.
Meta Watch. We're going to talk about the London Grand Tournament first and Aidan Brocklehurst. What do we got, Heath?
So, Mr. Brocklehurst, it came in 8th in a 750-player super major. And the list is described. The archetype would be full, like just good Space Marine, good stuff around a full Deathwing Knight unit. And I think that's something that we are going to see a lot today. So here's the full list. It is a Gladius task force, right? Okay. So Apothecary Biologus. Okay. Captain and Gravis armor. The Biologus has Bolter Discipline. We all knew that was coming. So this is clearly old, pre Codex release. This is the weekend of the Codex release, I think, or no, the week before that.
It's fair.
Yeah. So, Librarian and Phobos armor, and the Captain and Gravis armor. Right. The Gravis Captain has the Artificer armor. Gravis Captains are actually pretty cool because they half damage, like natively. So this is interesting. All right. So then he's got a Heavy Intercessor squad. And that's something that I don't think we've seen a lot. So he's got 5 Heavy Intercessors. And then the 200 points of Aggressors, which is obviously going to go with the Biologus. Then he's got a full-size brick of Deathwing Knights. Right. Then 2 squads of drop-in Scepters with Plasma. Then an Infiltrator squad. That's going to go with your Phobos Librarian, right, to give you some effectively lone operator for deploy. And then you've got 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, one with looks like both with Macroplasma and Onslaught Gatling, one with a Stormbolter and one with a Fragstorm, and then a Scout Sniper squad, a Scout squad, and then a Calidus Assassin. So, you got the usual, like, I'm going to shoot big blobs to death. The Gravis Captain, I'm going to assume, goes with the Heavy Intercessors. Just gives them a little extra just stiffening. The Gravis Captain, all of his datasheet abilities are based around durability. He habs incoming damage, which is really good. That dude is stubborn. And then, you've got 3 units that can sit on objectives, can't get targeted. You've got a Calidus Assassin who is a lone operative. She'll sit on an objective, can't be targeted. There you go. The scout. Oh, there's one Scout Sniper squad. One is a Scout squad. No chaplain. So no leader for the Deathwing Knights. And no transports for them either, right? There's no transports in this list.
Right.
Which is a delta from how I've seen this played a lot of ways. Right. And honestly, you don't, well, you're not going to get 10 Deathwing Knights into a transport. I don't know if there's anything that can carry 20 models in the current game.
Spartan Assault.
Is that a thing? Like, can you play that?
No, because it's Forge, because it's Heresy. But it was going to be. I was going to make it a thing real hard. That's one of the reasons I bought that box. And then I got it built. I had to reprime it. I had to like soak it and scratch it and reprime it. And then right when I got through all that effort, they're like, "Yeah, you can't play with these in 40K comp anymore." And I went,
"No." That's man. I understand that the game needs to be pruned, if you will. Like you need, but invalidating people's hobby progress is never want to see that. So respect for making a tough decision, but damn. Anyway, all right. So things we see here. You've got 2 of pieces that we've seen before, right? You got the Aggressor Squad, which can shoot almost anything to death, right? And that's a great horde control unit. right? And then you've got the Deathwing Knights, which will just tank almost anything. I've been playing with this unit for a few weeks now, and they are just murder, right? So then everything else in here is all about board control and scoring. 2 Redemptors, you can't ignore Redemptors. Those plasma incinerators aren't as reliable as they used to be. Not that they
Yep.
were reliable before, because D6 shots is D6 shots, but they don't have the strength to be a reliable anti-armor. So my opinion on this is lacking a little ranged anti-armor. So if you ran into a guard parking lot, I don't know what the solution for that is. But hey, I didn't play safe at the London GT, so
There,
Mr.
it's fair.
Mr. Brocklehurst, props to you, sir. Once again, hey, we saw last episode lots of these drop inceptors and the scouts. I tried to play with the drop inceptors. I didn't get a chance. I played a game. I forgot they were in my list.
Oh no.
I didn't bring them in. Whatever. And it was a guard parking lot, which is why I brought that up. So, okay. So the heavy intercessors are kind of interesting here. I really would like to know more about that, because that's the thing, that I don't know what the plan is really.
I mean, they bodyguard the Gravis captain.
Yeah, but are they objective sitters? Because you don't want the Gravis captain's not an objective sitter character, right? He's a beatstick. So I'm not sure. What do you think?
Gotcha. Well, like they're a bodyguard unit. Does his half damage apply to him or his whole unit?
I'm pretty sure it only applies to him.
Okay.
The Gravis, so the heavy intercessor data sheet ability is they get +1 AP against damage 1 weapons. And that's
true.
Or sorry, +1 save against damage 1 weapons. So that's cool, right?
And they have extra strength on all their guns, and they have
heavy
and assault,
and they're toughness 6, and they're toughness 6. So
yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah, and they're only 105 points, which I guess I don't think I realized, because I'm used to them being 120 from the old edition. So,
well, when we get to it, I'll tell you that a bunch of T4 intercessor bodies are not super tough. So maybe that T6 break point will be a big deal. I know it's a big point going into las guns. T6 is a big break point. So if you got a lot of guard in your meta, these guys ruin las gun days.
Yeah. The things I worry about with guard aren't las guns. They're battle cannons and a rogue of thorns. So there's a guy in my meta who plays 2 Bane Blades in his it's just all right, man. Okay. Okay. Well, so there we go.
Congratulations. This is interesting. That's a good showing.
Yeah, it's an outstanding showing, right? That is beyond good. So that's all missed the top 1% by 1 spot, right?
Yep.
And 8th place indicates he made it to the final day. So baller, awesome. Okay.
All right. We've got the Dark Sphere October GT.
And win.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at his win path here.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it looks like he won out the first 6 games, and he lost the first game on the final day. So.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But he made it. That's what matters. He made it to the final day.
That's impressive. All right.
All right, so the Dark Sphere October GTs, 33 players, 5 rounds. It's in the United Kingdom. We have Jack Payne in 3rd place with the Gladius Task Force, who also had a big Deathwing Knight brick with Aggressor and Redemptor backup. So, don't know if it's a straight copy and paste. Do you have the list?
I have the list. It is not.
Here we go. We love it.
Okay.
We love to see it.
So again, the Biologus with Bolter Discipline. So this is from earlier in the month of October. So it is a pre-Codex release detachment. You're going to have a Captain of Terminator armor with a fist, a shield, and Honor of Vehement, a Combi Weapon Lieutenant, and then the Aggressors to go with the Biologus with Bolter Discipline, a Ballistus Dreadnought, 10 Deathwing Knights, then an Eliminator Squad, and they have snipers and a bolt carbine, the 2 Inceptors that seem to be required, and then an Infiltrator Squad and 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts and the Calidus Assassin. So actually pretty close. adds the Eliminators and the Ballistas, takes away the Librarian. So he's buffing putting more in on the Deathwing Knights instead of the heavy intercessors, right? And which is interesting. So I'm actually kind of looking at Eliminators myself. I think that just having a little extra, sneaky boy move, shoot,
Yep.
move kind of thing is something I need in my list. And this Callous Assassin, once again, is I think it's a very important part of Imperium play right now. So honestly, pretty close. I would like to know what they do with the two dreadnoughts. I imagine they probably push forward with the Deathwing Knights because those guns aren't as anti-tank as you would like to, but their fists absolutely certainly are.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, and then in this one, from the other one, having the Basilisk adds some of that long range shooting you
Oh,
were
you mean
looking
the
for.
Ballistas? Yeah.
The Ballistas, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And Ballistas are actually really survivable, especially if you can keep them in cover, right? And then use Armor Contempt on them. Ballistas are pretty good. Um, Obviously, this is pre-Codex release. This is old at the moment, so some of that value proposition may have changed. But yeah, so
Gotcha.
okay.
Congratulations, Jack.
Do we have anything from post-Codex release?
Yes, the SoCal Open
The
event here.
SoCal one. I don't know if I have that one pulled up. Do we have his?
I got the list here. It
Oh,
was
yep, there he
posted,
is.
so I got it already. So we have the SoCal Open. This was October 21st in Del Mar, California. Do you want to tackle this name, or do you want me to? Because I practice.
It's
Because that's Greek,
Alex
so I have.
Spathopoulos.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
But look what he
that's
brought.
very big.
Look at his detachment, though. This is what I like to see.
It's a true
Think
son
all
of
of
the
us.
lion. It's an Unforgiven detachment. Fourth
Yep.
place at 190 player, almost super major.
Yeah.
So, damn, there you go.
His list is called Hellblasters No Transport. I love it.
That's utilitarian in the extreme, right? So, what are we
Yep.
going to see? Well, we have an Ancient with a Pendant of Remembrance. Ancient and Terminator armor, because you have to have the Terminator armor to get the Pendant of Remembrance.
Yep.
Azrael, and a Combi Weapon Lieutenant. Right? Then
Shroud.
full size. Oh yeah, the lieutenant has a Shroud of Heroes, so he can step back up, which is good. That's good, cool tech piece. Then a full size Deathwing Command Squad.
Yeah, that's pretty
Ancient
cool.
Apothecary Champion, and then 2 Cyclones, 2 Power Fists, and 5 Thunderhammer Storm Shield.
Let's go.
All right. And then there's the Hellblaster Squad from the name. An Inceptor Squad with Plasma Exterminators, a Dark Shroud, and then 1, 2, 3 Repulsor Executioners.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. So I know what the Dark Shroud is for. It's to keep those Repulsor Executioners safe, right? And then a Scout Squad. So this is the one missile launcher. Yeah, 1 missile launcher. Right? And then the Callous Assassin, which appears to be required. Right? Okay. So what does the Unforgiven attachment do for this list, Bailey?
Well, it gives you access to the more survivability on your Deathwing Command Squad. It gives you access because you not only are getting the Pendant of Remembrance, you're also getting the stratagem that gives you -1 damage
when you get charged. Yeah, true.
You have access to Grim Retribution with the Hellblaster, so if they get shot at, the full squad can return fire. And then, of course, like we talked about in the past, you have access to that one stratagem that gives anything advance. It gives it heavy assault and ignore cover, which applies to anything. So you could put that on.
One of those repulsors.
Ignore cover on Hellblasters, you can, but I'm assuming on a Repulsor Executioner, having the ability to advance it and shoot and ignore cover is probably pretty powerful. Or if it sat still and something walked in front of it to give it extra +1 to hit, especially if you're having to shoot. They have similar -1 to hit gimmicks. It gives you a chance to try and fight, counteract an Eldar list or something that has -1 to hit on it. I do like this sort of classic throwback to scouts with shotguns and a missile launcher. I'm not gonna lie, that is throwback. I think
that's there because it's 55 points, right? It's cheap. Right, so that's like a hey, I can drop this into the list for not much, and then they can sit somewhere or hold an objective. Or I don't remember what Scout's data sheet rule is. Do you? I don't have any of my books out. I am ill prepared. So
Not
they
off
have
the top of my head. I know that I can't remember if they actually have the scout move in this format or the infiltrate rule off the top of my head, because I know like incursors now have scout, but whereas infiltrators have infiltrate. Um, but the fact that they have the shotguns and they have the missile launcher gives them access to a decent amount of burst damage into a small, lightly armored infantry unit. It's like if they ran into a guard squad or something, there's enough with a frag missile in those shotguns. They actually have a pretty good chance of lighting it up, and then because they're Space Marines, they can charge into it and probably pick up the rest of the squad in close combat. So even though it's kind of small and
yeah.
looks harmless, it actually has some burst potential into certain matchups. Or if it's if someone had a small 10-man unit of gaunts that they just kind of used for holding objectives or doing something, they'll pick that up pretty fast too.
So their close combat weapons are, I mean, 2 attacks, hit on threes, strength 4. They have infiltrators, scout
Okay.
6 inches, and their data sheet ability is guerrilla tactics. At the end of your opponent's turn, if they're
Ah,
more than
that's right.
6 inches from all enemy units, you can pick them up and put them into strategic reserves. Um,
Very
so a really
useful.
good kind of counterplay unit. And the shotgun is 18-inch, 2 shot, strength 4. Remember when didn't they used to be strength 5 in?
I don't
Or am I thinking
remember.
Tau breachers? Whatever.
That might be
Um,
Tybri. I remember the big thing with them is that they used to be assault weapons, so you could advance and shoot
oh,
them, and that's what made,
they are
at least
assault
back in the
weapons.
day.
They are assault
Okay.
weapons. So yeah. No, yeah, 2 shots. You'll probably a little better than the bolt guns. So
Oh, then think
okay.
about the OC. Oh, also think about the OC on this command squad, because you have double ancient and you're an unforgiven detachment.
Oh
So
right.
their OC goes to 1, and then they get to add 2. So they're
Yeah,
OC 3 all the time. So
and they're
that's another
+1 to
thing
advance
you'll
and
see.
charge, right? And they're bringing a guy
Yep.
back, and all that stuff, right? So it's a real chonky unit, right?
Yep.
The lieutenant with combi weapon with shroud. Is that a just an objective sitter? Like, hey, you can't shoot me, and if you do manage to, I'll stand back up.
Yeah, I think so, because you don't have like the lion or something else that needs
Yeah,
something to give it. They have to be near something in order to give it lone operative in the list. And yeah, especially when you consider the fact that like he also has like a, if you move within 9 inches of me, I can move away for
he
you.
has a react
So
move,
that,
which is cool. Yeah,
yep. So that gives you a chance to just kind of be really annoying. And again, little goofy movement shenanigans. That's just fun to play with. And giving him shroud means he gets to keep doing it. Plus, if you're just sitting there at the end of the list going, "What do I do with these points?" Which, seeing that the list maxed out at
hmm
1995, he's probably going, "What can I put? What enhancement is worth putting on a lone operative lieutenant?" And that's the best
shroud,
one I can think of.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Um, yeah, 3 repulsor executioners got a lot of punch to it, right?
Yeah, they do.
And the
And are
hellblasters
they all
are
laser destroyers? Yes.
uh, laser,
Yes.
laser, laser. Yes,
Yep.
yeah. So
Yep.
nice.
That's the DACA factory right there.
Ouch. Yeah. All right. Next
And
list.
then we've got the Rapid Fire GT, uh, 2023. This is 19 player or 29 player 5 round Grand Tournament Scotland. This happened October 21st, and from what I remember looking at this, I think this guy played Ines Wilson on the top table, who we've talked about before because he's also played Dark Angels
hmm
competitively for quite some time. So, Ines, what are you doing? You need to be playing Dark Angels. Quit playing whatever it is that you were playing. I don't remember what it was off the top of my head, but clearly it's not Dark Angels because we're not talking about it. We're
Yeah.
talking about Alan Davidson instead. So he has the Ironstorm Spearhead. So this has got some new Codex tech.
Okay. So this is the
And
iron. Yeah, this is the one that buffs all your. You get the hit and the hit wound reroll, hit or wound reroll for
yep,
vehicles, right? Okay. So 1,995 points. So you have a Tech Marine. So you have a 95-point Tech Marine with the Augury Web, an 80-point Tech Marine with the Depth of the Omnissiah, and a 75-point Tech Marine with Master of Machine War. Um, okay. So Let's see where we go from here. Then I've got 1, 2, 3 Inceptor squads, a Dark Shroud, 1, 2, 3 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, Plasma, 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 right? And then 1, 2, 3 Scout squads, the 55-point Scout squads with a missile launcher and a sniper rifle, and then 3 Whirlwinds and the Callous Assassin.
Yep.
So 1 Tech Marine per Dreadnought. The Dark Shroud to kind of keep them all safe, right? That's an additional point of, it's cover and -1 to hit for all of that stuff, right? And the Dreadnought and the Tech Marines are going to be healing every single one of them every turn, right? Master Machine War, that's the 6-inch aura that I don't remember what exactly it does. Let's see if we can figure it out. What does that do?
What I like, while you're looking that up, I'm going to say that I like the fact having the 3 Inceptor squads, because this sets you up for a 4 corners investigate if you have to. That'll be really, really hard to stop.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay, so the Master Machine War, a friendly Stardust vehicle unit is within 6 inches of the bearer. That vehicle unit is eligible to shoot, even if it fell back or advanced this turn.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so keep that guy in the middle, and all your Dreadnoughts can advance and shoot, or fall back and shoot. Right, and then Adept of the Omnissiah. Once per battle round, when a saving throw is failed for a friendly vehicle within 6 inches of the bearer, you can change that damage to 0.
Yep.
Okay. And then the target augury web on the other one is vehicle models within 6 inches have lethal hits. Yikes.
All right. That makes
And
some of these plasma guns
only.
a lot better against bigger stuff.
So interesting. We were thinking that you were going to see Master Machine War on a Talon Master, right? But I can see why he did the Tech Marine, because 1, it's a lot cheaper, and 2, that gives you the ability to repair that one of those all 3 Dreadnoughts.
Yep.
So interesting. Okay.
And I like the commitment to Whirlwind in my notes from as we're getting ready to get into it. That was something I thought that there's a place for them, but you got to do something like this to make it worth your time.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Yep. It's a shame that you don't have the old school, standard pattern land speeders, which could basically negate the penalty for indirect fire, because this list is crying out for that. So,
yep.
All right.
Oh well, but
yeah. So the
anyway,
only thing
let's congratulate who is this? Alan, for getting to the finals and playing a fallen member of the community.
Let's not be hasty. Those are strong words. Yeah.
But
we don't need to be beefing
if I
with
remember,
Dennis Wilson. Yeah.
From the score, it was a close game too. So it was very close, if I remember from what I saw in the article. And that final top game, let me pull it up here real quick. Let's see. It was. Wait, I'm looking at the wrong one. That's the Alex one. Da, da, da. This article is so big. Final score was 85-74 Chaos Marines.
That's within punching range.
Yep.
That's within punching range. So, okay.
And the Chaos list had Chaos Lords, 3 Chaos Lords, Cultist Bob, lots of Chosen, like 3 squads, 2 Talon Warp Talon squads, 4 Obliterators, Forge Fiend, 2 Rhinos, some Blue Scribes and some Nurglings, and some Rubric Marines. Yeah, I played something like this in Tampa. This is good stuff. Like,
I've heard a lot about that list. Yeah. Those Forge Fiends are apparently real good. So
yeah.
Okay. Interesting that these last 2 lists did not have the giant blob of Deathwing Knights. So
yep.
GW, not OP, please don't nerf. If you're listening. Okay. So, all right. My only complaint about this is the only thing that makes this list Dark Angels is the Dark Shroud.
Yep.
So, let's say if you're playing at the high levels of the game, like that might not be your primary concern, but that's it doesn't. Yeah, if I've only got one thing that is Dark Angel specific, then I'm like, am I really playing? I don't know. So, but okay,
I guess one
there
thing
we
to
go.
give Ines a shout out, because I was following his Twitter feed. I guess he's won this tournament like 5 years running. So like,
Well,
congrats on achieving that sort of feat. Just like across as much as the game has changed in the last 5 years,
yeah.
that you keep finding something to bring that you can win this event.
Well, the
So
dude
congratulations
continuously
on that.
plays at the top level of the game. So yeah.
Yeah.
If it's your local like big yearly GT, then all right, obvious. Yeah. So okay, that is the stuff we got up for MetaWatch. So now we're gonna go back to the after action report. So you went and played at the GW Tampa Open event
Yep.
recently, right? Okay.
Yep.
So can you just real quick recap your list?
Sure. So I named this the Tampa 2 because Tony Dungy and football and stuff.
Okay.
That's it's not as cool as Hellblasters No Transports, but
Mm-hmm.
it's my sense of humor. So let's see, we had Azrael, we had the Lieutenant with combi weapon with the Artificer armor, we had the Lion, Primaris Apothecary, Primaris Librarian with Bolter Discipline, 10 Assault Intercessors, Sergeant had a Thunderhammer and a Plasma Pistol, 10 Hellblasters, all with Plasma Pistols, which you can't do in the new Codex. That got
Yeah, which
changed
is
when
a
you look at the
shame.
data sheet, something to
Which is a
keep
shame.
your eye on. Double Inceptors with Plasma, Infiltrators, Hail Strike, Thunder Strike, Suppressor Squad, and a Whirlwind. So lots of different bits and pieces in here. All
Okay.
the little pieces I've played with before, and I just kind of throw them all together. Although the one piece I wanted to try, since you told me it was a lot of fun, and I can confirm it was a lot of fun, um, is that Azrael and Assault Intercessor combo. I will say the sustained hits on the Assault Intercessors wasn't as overwhelming as I thought it would be, and the 4-up invuln, although it does provide some more survivability, it doesn't stop the amount of dedicated firepower that was going into them once people saw what they did a couple times.
Yeah.
For example, uh, I played a Blood Angels player, and I got the advanced. This is a Gladius, so I didn't play
Yep.
um,
Unforgiven.
the
Yeah.
Unforgiven, but this is part of it was to get the extra sustained hits for the Hellblasters, and part of it so I could do what I did against this one Blood Angels players, which is one of the highlights for the Assault Intercessors, is advancing and charging and having Lance going into that brick of aggressors, and then just picking up all the aggressors in one fight phase. The look on that Blood Angels face players was like, ugh, when those 10 guys went in there and just obliterated all of them. So that was fun. They also had a moment where I forgot about the threat range of stuff in a Land Raider, and Hellbrick, Lieutenant, and 5 Sword Brethren came out of a Land Raider and through a wall and killed all the Assault Intercessors, but I had enough command points to give him only in death does duty end, so they counter swung as a squad with Ezra with like 2 wounds or 1 wound left and killed everything but Hellbrick with 1 wound, and I think the Lieutenant had like 1 wound or something like that. But
Okay.
so
Mm.
there's enough heat in that squad that you can throw out a lot of dice, but like I ran into a squad of the Chaos Cultist blob with the 20 guys with the Dark Commune. They're always bringing back guys and they're always doing this, and just didn't have enough attacks to really chew them with the lion.
Really?
I barely had the ability to chew through all of that.
Wow. Okay.
Uh, and then I ran into a night list that just kind of pointed guns at them and they all died. Although they have enough damage to kill an armiger by themselves, it's when the other 2 or 3 walk out from behind a building with machine guns, and
Yeah.
the 4-up just isn't enough. So
Yeah.
I
Okay.
will say it's a lot of fun. Probably not going to take this to the Assault Intercessors to another large event like this.
Fair enough.
Although I still had the old oath, so my opinion might change based on the fact that I'm not going to have reroll wounds all the time, and I kept forgetting that they have inherently on objectives. There are a couple games where I'm like, oh, I should have remembered that I had that. That would have been useful there. But they were fun. Now Ezreal on himself, I would bring all the time because with all these new stratagems in the new codex, he gives you that extra
Yeah.
CP that
It's just
opens up
so
stuff.
good. I don't see how you can play without Azrael. obviously some people have in this list we just read out, but that extra CP every turn, right,
Yep.
is like if you're not playing something that's gonna be all dedicated to vehicles, like Azrael is just an auto include. So like
Now
yeah.
the one thing I want to try, because I was theory crafting on the way back, because it was a 16-hour car ride from Tampa back to
Oh Lord.
Indiana.
Oh Lord.
Uh, and for any of you biker people out there, we had to make a detour through North Carolina to go to ride the Tail of the Dragon, which is this 11-mile stretch of road up in the mountains over the Tennessee River that has 318 turns in those 11 miles. And almost
Mm-mm.
every single one of those turns is like a 100-foot drop down into the river. So and there's no guardrails really.
There's
So it
there's
is
one
a
like that in Colorado called the $1 Million Highway, which in a lot of places seems like was maybe a $920,000 job because they left out a lot of guardrails over 700 foot of sky, right? So
yeah.
all right,
But
yeah,
what I thought with them here is this command squad, the new command squad. At first, I saw that and I went, "This doesn't seem that good." But then I thought about what if you put Azrael in the new command squad? That's just the bare bones guys, where it's got the ancient, it's got the two stern guard, and the company champion. Well, you throw Azrael in there. Now they all have a 4-up invul in which they have no access to any other way. And then the squad, once you put Azrael in there, the whole squad gets -1 to wound because they're being led by a chapter master or captain level character, and they're like 90 points. So you put, and then with the sword, between Azrael's sword and the champion's sword, you're putting out 11 attacks before sustained hits that are enough to pick up a single Marine model on their own.
and and they've got the Ancients OC banner,
Yep.
and there's an apothecary in there, right? They bring guys
No,
back. I
there's
don't
not an
know.
apothecary, but you
Okay,
could add one if you wanted to.
right. Okay. Yeah, interesting. Uh, what do you see the role of that unit as? Like, it's not a trade piece, right? Or is it like just like a bumper, or you
So
use an
essentially,
impulsor and like move up and jump out and go do something, or
basically the way I looked at it is that it's a cheap way to, if I'm not looking at Ezreal as something I don't have a big blob of Hellblasters or something that I want to put him in. This is a way for me to put him on the board where he's very durable and hard to kill, like snipe with like indirect fire or anything. He can back. You just kind of go, here's this little thing that sits here and makes command points for me, and if I have to make a last ditch push on something, there's enough attacks in there that if a weakened character or a weakened squad of some kind, they
hmm.
have enough oomph between the champion and Ezreal to pick it up. So that's sort of how I look at it as a way in lists where I'm not running giant blobs of Hellblasters because I'm trying to do something else, and because that to me that's the natural home for Ezreal is 10 Hellblasters. If I don't have that in a list, which I've built a couple lists where it's not there because I'm finding that killing power somewhere else. This is how I'd slot him into the list so that I had the command points.
So like one of these Iron Storm lists that really lean
Yeah,
into vehicles, but you still want to bring Azrael, right,
right.
to get the CP generation, right? So Azrael plus this unit is under 200 points total out the door, right? And they can sit
Yeah,
and hold an objective with a 4-up invul save. Maybe they're in cover and they're -1 to wound, and they're just going to sit there and pop you a CP every turn. And if you come close to them, they're going to hurt you badly, right? Yeah,
yeah.
maybe there's something to that, right? I've probably have one. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to get one, right?
So here's how I'm going to do it. I got Stern Guard from the Leviathan box, which the vet company vets in that box are just 2 Stern Guard, and I've got a Blade Guard Ancient that I need to finish painting that I like really Dark Angels-ified.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the Ancient, and I have a Blade Guard veteran that doesn't have a shield, that's got a sword and a pistol, and he's doing the whole like "come at me, bro" pose. And he's got a hood, so I'm going to make him the company champion, and then just
Okay.
throw Ezreal in there, and so it's
Okay.
good to go. So
Hey,
just kind of look through your collection.
That's a cool opportunity. Yeah, you're right. That's a cool opportunity to do the kit brash, like come up with stuff. So yeah, all right, neat. Um, okay, so you talked about Azrael. We talked about that. All right, so your combat open lieutenant. How did your understanding of this unit change throughout the tournament?
So I liked this guy. I wouldn't say he's like a super MVP or anything, but I liked how getting a lot of games in with him. I realized that there's so much more that he can do than just puppy guard the lion the way that I originally planned him to be. I did that a couple games and realized that kind of other stuff was always near the lion, and so he was kind of already guarded to begin with. Like I was
Hmm.
usually kind of near the Hellblasters or near the Assault Intercessors, uh, because one was going to countercharge whatever the other thing charged, and then got countercharged. So they were always just kind of there, kind of waiting to go in together. And so I ended up sticking this guy out on a flank a lot of times to sort of screen out a flank. Or I went into a game with the Knights player. I stuck him over in a corner, used him to infiltrate, and he basically played Ring Around the Rosie with 2 Armigers for a couple of turns that could have been off, massacring the rest of my army, but instead they were running around a building trying to get to my lieutenant that they couldn't target, because as soon as they got close to him, he'd move away from them and move to the other side of the building where they couldn't target him or see him.
Yeah. So I think I'm agreeing with you here. This guy is going to feature heavily in a lot of lists. I think just for his action utility, he can score. What is that one mission where you have to like empower or like sites of power, right? He's a
Oh
character,
yeah,
he can go empower, right? He can get, he can just move across the board, do stuff, right?
yeah,
And he can sit on, if you're light on units that can sit on objectives and score them, this guy can do that, right? And with the
yep,
new version of his priority objective roll, there's one of the only ways that you can get an army wide wound reroll, right? So he just say that objective is going to be important. Everyone's going to reroll ones to wound on that, right? And if you're canny with what you put on that, it can be a real big deal. So you're going to have a game plan for where your guys are going to move and where
yep,
you think the conflict is going to occur. But he's been real important for me for the last couple of games I played, just mostly in that role. So
yep. Yeah, he's fun, and the movement shenanigans is also fun. So just to keep things simple on the lion, I just wrote killed Magnus. Enough said.
as was
I there was
foretold in
a
the prophecies, yeah.
so I went 1-7, and so in the one game I won, it was because one of the big shining moment is turn one. Magnus came into the middle of the board on an objective to try and like snipe out the lion with one of his spells, and it didn't work. And then on my turn, I went Assault Doctrine, advanced in charge after I had the Hellblasters dump into Magnus, and then I advanced in charge with the Lion, and gave him Lance, and then went bye bye Magnus.
Hmm.
And the guy was like, "That's the fastest Magnus has died, but that's also the coolest way that he's died this entire tournament, and I'm not even mad
Fratricide.
about it."
Fratricide, yeah.
So I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head right now, but that guy was pretty cool, was really chill, and like, because I ended up just, it was like 91 to like 40 something. I mean, I absolutely slapped him, but he was having a really good time and sort of enjoying the fluff of the battle. Because we
Nice.
had the 2 brothers fight, and then his Terminators came out and killed the lion, and just kind of had a big. Actually, no, that's not what happened. The lion kind of ran around and killed a bunch of stuff. He also had a Mutilix Vortex beast, which was very well painted. That was chasing the lieutenant around a little bit too. That happened in that game. But the thing I will warn people about with the lion is with the change to dev wounds, anything that has dev wounds is just going to pick him up. He's only
Oh
got
yeah,
10 wounds,
we
and
knew
if something
this.
can spit out a lot of dev wounds, that's where he died. Any game I lost him, it was because somebody had access to dev wounds and they just bypassed everything. They bypassed the -1 to wound, they bypassed the 3-up invuln, they bypassed the high toughness, and you're just like, well, I guess he's dead.
Yep.
So he
Yikes.
is he can be hard to kill. He can tank shock, take a lot of tank fire. There was one game against guard where he charged into
Wow.
2 chimeras.
I forgot he could tank shot because he's a monster.
I
Man.
also forgot that
Oh
the
wow,
entire
man.
game. But what was
Okay.
fun is that there was an objective off in a corner, and the lion went over there by himself and basically spent the entire game fighting 2 different chimeras, about 30 guardsmen, an entire heavy weapons team, and a tank. And like by himself held up that entire side of the board,
Mm.
and didn't die. That guy was kind of fluffled by that, but I was like, you know what? It was
He's a
pretty epic. So
Primarch. Like that's
anyway,
what they do.
yeah, definitely want to try him in a Vanguard detachment. I have a list called Crouching or Hidden Angel or Crouching Angel, Hidden Dragon or Hidden Lion, and I'm going to try him out in there because we talked about last month. I want to use surgical strikes with him and see how that goes. And having an army where like basically everything has -1 to hit and cover and a lot of lone op options, definitely going to try out the Lion in that.
Okay.
We did the Apothecary, the Librarian. In the Hellblasters, it did what I thought it would do. I'm not really sure it's worth it. I'd rather just run Azrael with the Hellblasters than have the Librarian in there, which again then frees me up to run different detachments, because otherwise I'm kind of stuck running Gladius to try and
Yeah.
get the Bolter Discipline in there.
Yeah.
So that's sort of my experience there. I tried a lot of the spell powers and the plink damage with the smite and stuff, but I'm not as cool as Azrael and Hellblasters, so I definitely go with that. Uh,
So you ran.
Hellblasters
So you ran the apothecary uh,
with
with the librarian with the hellblaster. So you're bringing one
yes,
back every turn.
yep,
Okay. Do they just still die too fast?
yep. They still, even with
Hmm.
the 4-up invuln from the Primaris Librarian, they die too fast, either to themselves
Okay.
um, or something with dedicated shooting is like, oh, that's really shooty. Let's go kill that, and it just happens. However, one thing I want to try them in the Death Storm detachment going forward in a pulsar, so you get 5 of them in there, so they can pop out, get +1 to hit, and then you can also give them +1 to wound, because if they target the closest enemy unit, so you can. So I
Oh
think,
yeah,
and they get the extra
yeah
strength, so I think that'll be fun.
firestorm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so that's
Okay.
a situation where, like, if I'm running that combo, I'm going to put Azrael in the command squad and put it on my backboard, because the Hellblasters are in a tank doing
Hmm. Okay.
drive-bys and stuff, where you don't want Azrael in the tank. If he's in the tank, he's not giving you CP, so he has to
Yeah.
be on the board.
I've been thinking, to be honest, like, what if you did that and just like, hey, I'm going to take Azrael out of the tank on turn 2. So turn 1, maybe you just plan on discarding an objective at the end of the turn.
Also true.
I mean that's kind of risky, but I don't know. So, hmm.
Let's see. So then I went to the Inceptors, and they were fun for behind enemy lines, deploying teleport homers, investigate signals. I got a 4-corner investigate signals off for the first time, and them being able to deep strike within 3 inches is fun. A big key with them is when you deep strike them, don't forget to shoot them. I played a guard player, deep struck in, got my behind enemy line points, and then moved on to my charge phase.
Oops.
And they then proceeded to get shot at by the entire backboard of the guard, and that ended up kind of being a big swing in that game, because I then had to come back in later with my intercessors and kill what was there. The other thing I remind people, this is kind of a side note, is ask your opponents what units are in their army that they can bring back, because I spent a lot of time playing guard, 2 different guard players and this one chaos player, watching the stuff I killed come back every game, every turn. And basically everything I did every turn didn't matter, because whatever it is I killed came back
Yeah.
with a stratagem. So either you find a way to kill 2 things a turn that they can use that stratagem on, so that way they are actually going to lose models, or find a way to get over and around the chaff and get to the stuff that matters, because that got to be very frustrating. And I played it like back to back to back, and I'm like, man, I'm tired of just not getting to enjoy enjoy the game in a way where I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere, if that makes sense.
It's
It's like
really
I
easy
didn't
to
mind.
kill stuff if you just get it back, right? It's
Yeah,
like, oh well, okay, if they're strategic reserves, they're coming back next turn.
yeah,
Send in the next wave.
yep. And then also there was a game where I did the behind enemy lines, and I supercharged, and then I rolled my hazard check, and I rolled 3 ones.
Oh
So they
no.
all died, and then because
Oh
I went from
no.
1 unit to 2, I got little behind enemy lines. So that can happen. It happened to me, so watch out.
Do you
um,
really need to overcharge against guard though?
that was against something. They had big
Okay.
stuff. I feel
Okay.
like it was chaos of some kind. Yeah, I
Fair
think
enough.
it was the Thousand Suns player, because I was trying to kill like Terminators or something. There was something big in the back, and I was trying to kill it, and I had to supercharge. Uh,
All right.
and that happened. It was embarrassing. Infiltrator Squad, they did what they do without the Phobos Librarian, which I've been like, oh, I have to have the Phobos Librarian or I can't play the game.
Good to
Which
know.
also notes the fact that the Chaos guy was very impressed, the Thousand Suns player, that I had Azrael, I had the Lion, and then I was using my Cypher as my Librarian. And he's like, what, you have Cypher, the Lion, and Azrael all in the same list? I'm like, yeah, I do. I did that. It's a thing. Uh, but these guys, they did their job. If you hide them correctly and use the terrain board correctly, uh, you don't need to have the Phobos Librarian, although it's just fun to have that Phobos Librarian. I didn't run into any of those Eldar, like, infinitely silly Night Spinner madness, where I would have really liked to have the Librarian. So, but I'm still going to take Infiltrators. It's a mainstay. You just got to have them. They're so useful.
I really want to find a way to get them in my list because I think against things like demons and stuff that does deep strike
Yeah.
and gene stealer cults, they're really important into like 3 or 4 matchups. And even without that, right? They're good. It's just finding it's so hard to find like ways to get stuff into lists with the
Yep.
fixed price pointing.
Yep.
So okay.
Well, and then the Calidus. If you're running into a lot of Imperialists with that little 25 millimeter base that they're trying to get in your backfield, these guys will help you a lot more than the normal rules. Had a hail strike. Didn't really get to take advantage of the extra AP, and feels kind of situational to me going forward. It'll depend on what's in the list and what I feel like I might need the extra AP for. Thunderstrike sometimes was overly good. Like, it would spike. I got pretty lucky a couple times, and like I'd get all 3 hits, all 3 wounds. They'd fail 1 or 2 saves, and then I would just roll max damage and just like auto blow up the armiger or the light tank or whatever it was I was trying to set up to shoot with my Hellblasters. And I'm like, oh, that was unexpected. Now my buff isn't where it needs to be. But
I've never considered splitting its shooting.
And so that
does how the way the wording on that works? Can you do that?
Yeah,
Like,
because it says
does it's
one of the things it hit, you're allowed to give the buff to. You can't give it to both things. You can give it to one of the things that it's hit. And that happened
select one enemy monster vehicle hit by one or more of this vehicle's attacks. Okay. All right.
And that happened because I was playing the Knights player that had one big knight, and then the rest were all little knights. And basically, I came out on my turn 2 and put everything out in the open and went, all right, I need to kill like 3 or 4 of these things right now, or I'm out of the game. And I killed like 2 because I didn't get my +1 to wound off on one of them. But that was the turn where like the lion went into the big knight and crumped him real good. The assault intercessors crumped an armiger. The Hellstrike killed an armiger. And I mean, I just went nuts and I'm like, I either have to kill everything now or I lose now.
Yeah.
And I lost now. It's the way it is. But it was a good time. But yeah, I just feel going forward, Thunder Strikes are just going to, even though they got a points increase, they do so much for you. And they have the option, like if you don't have a lot of terrain on your board, don't forget they deep strike. That's something people forget. They have all the new land speeders have deep strike, and that'll help you in matchups where people got a lot of long range.
I think with the Thunderstrike especially, a lot of people are very familiar with that +1 to wound, and so keeping the Thunderstrike in reserve, if you're looking at your board and like, I don't know where I can keep this guy safe, putting him in reserve is actually a pretty good play, right? Because that way at least you're going to be able to get to do his thing on turn 2, right? So maybe you spend turn 1 setting up for the turn 2 Alpha Strike, right?
Okay. Suppressors, I brought them back out basically because I didn't have room for more info. There was something else I couldn't get them in, but I've had them. I had fun killing cultists and guardsmen with them, and then I guess the one big play was because they have the 10-inch move. In one of the last game or the last 2 games where I had investigate signals pop up, I had them sort of over in a corner behind a building where it was very easy for them to just go 10 inches, I'm in the corner, investigate. All right, on my next turn, pop back into cover. And having that extra 10-inch movement, just having a small, cheap, fast-moving jump pack unit is nice. What they're probably going to get replaced with now going forward, though, are the new jump pack assault intercessors, because I'm going to start putting the Smash Captain in like every single one of my lists, and he's going to have a bodyguard of those. However, they are strength 8. They have a lot of shots at neg 2 or neg 1 2 damage. So in the Firestorm going forward, I want to give them at least another try, because being able to drop these guys in within 12 inches of something, and now all of a sudden they're strength 9, they should be able to really ruin a Chimera's day or something, a Sentinel or something of that caliber's day, without me having to put something expensive out like my Hell Blasters or Last Fusel Eliminators or my Thunderstrike into it. I can just be like, yeah, these guys can handle that. Or my Inceptors. I want my Inceptors to probably go after something a little bit chunkier. So I'm hoping that that's kind of will be their role going forward. And then the Whirlwind, it sat in the back. It did some stuff. I should have used it to tank shock Hellbrick instead of trying to use Azrael, because Azrael died in a to Hellbrick shout in my last game, and that was enough of a point swing when it came to primaries that it was no good.
Mm.
However, it and a Hail Strike have more OC than a Land Raider, so that's important to know. That scored me some primary one turn. And as we saw in the list earlier, if you're going to run a Whirlwind, you're probably just going to have to go
You got to
3 deep.
commit, yeah, because especially that way is to ignore. Look, now that Ironstorm where everything gets heavy. No, sorry, that it's the Anvil Siege Force where everything gets heavy.
Yeah,
right. That could be interesting because now they're going to hit on 3s if they don't move, which is they're not going to move. So yeah, yeah. I mean, and things like Necrons, right? You can just pick the Canatech Reanimator and be like, that's gonna die. I don't care.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So yeah.
So my overall, go do these. They're fun. It's nice to have the all these games at once. So as you build, it's like as you go, oh, I forgot to do this last game. You can kind of build and build and build. So by the last couple games, if you're not completely tired, you are able to actually kind of play your list the way it's intended to be, because you've had to remember or go back and look at rules, and something you forgot to do is cost you points and cost you a game, and now you're like, I'm not going to make that mistake again. So highly recommend playing some of these bigger multi-round, multi-day events outside of like an RTT or even a GT. Like having that third day definitely helped me play a lot better and come away with some better thoughts than if I'd played just the 2 days.
Well, we don't have any of those out here, but we do have a 2-day GT coming up next weekend, right?
Let's go.
So you want to hear? Here's what I'm planning on.
Yes.
Right. So this is very similar to the list I'm talking about. I made a couple of changes. So let's just run down the list real quick. So I've got a Biologus Apothecary with Fire Discipline. Obviously, it's Gladiator Detachment. Azrael, Terminator Captain. Probably going to give him the Relic Blade, not the Fist, just because I have a really cool model with the Relic Blade.
Nice.
Even though I kind of like the Fist profile better, but really cool. Right. Then I've got a Lieutenant with a Combi Weapon. I've got the Aggressor Squad. I'm only going to put 5 of them, though, right? It's not 6, because I don't have a Land Raider Redeemer to put them in. I've got a Land Raider, right? So
gotcha.
5 of them plus the Apothecary goes into a Land Raider, right? The Ballistic Dreadnought, the 10 Deathwing Knights, as is required. Then Hellblaster Squad, 10 Hellblasters, a Land Raider, a Thunderstrike. Then I've got a couple options here. I can go with a Gladiator Lancer, or I could drop the Lancer for a Calidus and 3 Eliminators. And I'm kind of leaning towards the Calidus and the Eliminators, because the Lancer shoots and it does some damage, but the things that are what I think are going to make me more consistent on winning games is more action pieces. So I'm kind of thinking I'm going to go Calidus and Eliminator. What do you think?
So I saw some of my teammates that went with me. One of them played the multi-Lancer list, and I feel like that's probably where I'd lean against being a Lancer, because you only have one, and people know what it does, and people
it's just going to get
stuff
it's
in their list
not
to kill
survivable. It's going to get zorched, right? So the Land Raider and the Ballistus at least have 2-up saves, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just going to get zorched, right? And that's been the case. As soon as someone shoots at it, looks at it with something real, it's gone. So, but that being said, hey, here's 10 Deathwing Knights. You see them? They're in your face. Hey, what's up?
That's the way to do it.
Oh my god, that unit is just so good. It walked through an entire Orc army almost by itself. Right? He charged me with a a big unit of bikes and a orc knocker ding donger, whatever the hell the name of the thing is, right? But some character, and they just like he charged me and just went killed them, right? They walked into two other units of orcs, killed all of them, right? Just walked through
Nice.
everything they touched, just died, right? And then I played against Tau a couple weeks ago, and it was the same thing, right? Just everything they touch is just gone, right? And the Tau player I was playing against, one of the better guys in our store, and he's like, I brought these two giant units of crisis bombs with plasma specifically for anti-Deathwing Knight, and it still didn't matter. They started in the middle of the board, they walked in the middle, scored primary, scored to teleport homers, and just like I drew capture enemy outpost on like turn 2, and was like, you know what? I can get that, and they just walked,
Oh
just walked in,
yeah.
just boom, just walked like nut busted through the door, grabbed Shadow Sun by her stupid face, and just anyway, we're here.
I love it.
So
I love it.
I'm into that unit. Like I see a lot of posts on like the Dark Angel Facebook pages about what's the size, 5 or 10? 10, y'all, 10, 10. You've got to take 10. 5 is not enough because 10 of those guys feels like overkill. But I'm telling you, once you drop down to 2 or 3 of them, they fall below critical mass to get to be really reliable, right? But 10 of them, dear God, they just absorb damage, right? Make sure you keep them in cover, throw armor contempt on them, like so they're tanking AP2 stuff on a 2-up save, right? -1 damage, just and
Yep.
oh my lord, and with the captain in that squad, right? So the honor of the chapter is a battle tactic and it's free, right?
Yep.
Good gravy. It's nuts. So yeah, I've got to finalize my list Tuesday because and this is Sunday afternoon for me, night for you. So
It's all good.
I haven't had an opportunity